Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pinal Prep Spotlight, brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. I am Brian Wright, and I am with Maria Vasquez, and we're all done with the winter sports regular season, so we are going to talk about some 3A playoff basketball. And we got three teams from Pinal County that are going to be playing games this week. We have Florence and San Tan Foothills playing on the boys' side on Wednesday, and then we have the Florence girls who will be playing on Friday. So, Maria, let's start with the 3A boys bracket, and we're going to first break down the matchup between Florence, which is the number 15 seed, and Chino Valley, which is the number 18 seed. So, Florence, as the higher seed, will be hosting this game on Wednesday night at 7. And if you look at these two teams' records, they're very similar. Florence was 17 and 12, or is 17 and 12, and Chino Valley is 17 and 10 overall. Florence, one of the things about this team is that they have shown some more balance recently, and even though they did lose in the 3A Central Region tournament to San Tan Foothills, but Maria, what do you think about where the Gophers are at this point?
I think, despite that loss in the region championship, I think they're gelling at the right time. And as you mentioned, there's more balance this time. It's not all about Malik Payton like it was earlier on in the season. You have other guys contributing like Eddie Chappell and Danny Sato.
Yeah, and you mentioned it with Eddie Chappell, and this has been one of the big things that's kind of developed over the last few games for Florence is that they were really always looking for that second scorer who could step up and give Malik Payton some help. And Eddie Chappell has done that in a big way. He is averaging 12.6 points per game on the year, but if you look at his last 7 games, he's averaging over 17 points. So he has really come through and had some big nights for the Gophers recently, and I think that's a big key for them moving forward into the state tournament. Maria, taking a look at this matchup, what are you expecting when they face off against Chino Valley?
I think they're going to be pretty evenly matched up. In Chino Valley, you have Daniel Martinez, who's averaging around 18 points per game, and then you have Thomas Bartels, who's averaging 13 points per game and 11 rebounds. Now, that's going to be a difficult matchup for Florence and their big guy with Reagan Terry. So it's going to be interesting to see, how those two match up in the middle.
Yeah, and Maria mentions Reagan Terry, and I think the key when it comes to Reagan Terry is just trying to stay out of foul trouble. Reagan, he gives the Gophers really a size and a physical presence that they don't have outside of him. And when he's on the court, he's very effective, but he does play a physical game, and sometimes he can get a little bit over-anxious with the physicality and can pick up some fouls. So I think if Reagan can control the fouls and can stay out of foul trouble, that is going to be big for the Gophers. Well, Maria, let's move right along to the next matchup, which is aforementioned San Tan Foothills. They are the number 9 seed, and they're going to be taking on number 24 Tucson Tan Verde. And, of course, the high seed does host, so the SaberCats will have this game at home. And if you just look on paper, this looks to be what should be a blowout win for San Tan Foothills. But, Maria, what are your thoughts looking at this matchup?
The thing about Foothills is they struggle against playoff contending teams. Earlier on in the season, they did lose to Florence in one game, and they really struggled against ALA Queen Creek. Now, while Tan Verde is not the same caliber as these other two teams, it's going to be interesting to see if Foothills can kind of push those previous losses back and just play the game that they're capable of playing.
And I will just say, when you look at Tan Verde, they have lost 5 of their last 6 games. They were outscored by an average of about 4 points per game over the season. They were outscored by 100 total points this year. And conversely, San Tan Foothills, they have done a good job at kind of crushing those weaker teams. I mean, if you look at their season output, they average about 63 points per game and their opponents averaged 49 and a half. So, they were winning those games by over 13 points per game. And Foothills, too, I mean, they're led by Joseph Padilla. He's scoring 18 and a half points per game. But they do have all their 5 leading scorers are all seniors. So I always love to see that going into a playoff scenario where you have an experienced team. And, with 5 seniors leading their team in scoring, I think that bodes very well for the SaberCats. But Maria, you watched that game against Queen Creek, and I know that was probably one of their worst performances, if not their worst performance of the season. They actually had a game against Queen Creek earlier this year where they only lost by 7. So what are your takeaways from San Tan Foothills right now?
Like I mentioned, I think they just need to stick to their game. And even though there are going to be those teams where they're outsized and, they're a little bit quicker or whatever, Foothills is still capable with their leaders in Joseph Padilla and Kevin Tucker, Jacob Bello. They have those guys that can make the plays. They just need to not panic as much.
Okay, well, let's move on to the 3A girls bracket. And Florence, which is the number 4 seed, has a first-round bye. So they are not going to play until Friday. They will be hosting Friday against the winner of number 13 Snowflake and number 20 Gilbert Christian. So while we don't know who their opponent is going to be, Florence has had a great season to this point. They're 25-5 overall. They won the 3A Central Region Championship for the 2nd straight year, which, by the way, they did not lose a game in the 3A Central region in the last 2 years, so 24 straight wins in the region, which is pretty incredible. But Maria, what are some of your thoughts on the Florence girls team?
I honestly think the Gophers are going to get as far as Bryn Aurora can carry them. Now, this girl has been absolutely phenomenal for the Gophers all year. She's averaging around 16 points per game. She's a 41% three-point shooter, and I mean, this girl can pretty much do it all for them.
You'll get no argument from me on that. Bryn O'Rourke is a fantastic player. I was at the 3A Central Championship game that they played last Friday against ALA Queen Creek, and Bryn O'Rourke did not have a great game. And one of the reasons why they were able to win that game was that Aliyah Brown stepped up and hit some big shots in the second half and was kind of able to give the team a little bit of a spark. And I think, like we talked about with the Florence boys team, Malik Payton needed some help. Well, Bryn O'Rourke can use some help as well. So Aliyah Brown coming in and being able to step up and score a little bit more is a really good sign for the Gophers, because Bryn O'Rourke's going to bring it every night. But that being said, she still is going to need her teammates to step up as well. And talk about senior leadership. I mean, they have 5 senior starters going down the line: Bryn O'Rourke, Aliyah Brown, Alex Brown, C.L. Neal, and Michelle Giddens Acuna, a great group of seniors. So, Maria, when you look ahead to this Friday matchup and kind of looking ahead for the Gophers, what do you see?
So far this season, I feel like the Gophers haven't really been contested against any of their other opponents. So it's going to be interesting to see if possibly getting that first round bye, there might be a little rust given the time of length that they've had without a game. But honestly, I wouldn't see that as much of a problem, because they've proven since last year that, hey, this is their year. The seniors have been there, and Coach Bellamare, he knows that this is their must-win year.
Yeah, and I think, the seniors, they police themselves at this point. They motivate themselves. They motivate the rest of the team, which I know has been really nice for Coach Bellamare, because, he doesn't have to get on them. I mean, they are such good leaders, and they have such a good work ethic that, it makes his job easier. But I also think that this Florence team, while they have beaten a lot of teams by big margins, they've also, they're pretty battle-tested. Coach Bellamare talked about the tough schedule they played in the summertime before the season even started. And this team is not afraid of getting down. They know how to fight back. And I think that's something else that's going to help them moving forward as the games get tougher. That does it for our breakdown on the state playoff basketball games this week. Remember to visit PinalCentral.com for all of your Pinal County playoff sports action, and we will see you next week.